These 4 F1 moments redefine the limits of racing. With heart-stopping scenes and unexpected turns, you'll most likely be rattled to the core. Number 4. At the historic Silverstone track during the 2018 British Grand Prix, excitement is in the air with all eyes on New Zealander driver Brendon Hartley. Suddenly, disaster strikes.
A big crash there for the Toro Rosso.
Hartley's car loses control out of the blue, its suspension failing spectacularly. What happens next is hard to watch. The front left wheel flails around as Hartley speeds down at speeds over 200 miles per hour. All of a sudden, he's off the track, bouncing wildly and then crashing hard into the barriers. Amidst the wreckage, a symbol of resilience emerges. Hartley, although visibly shaken, stands tall, waves to the crowd, and heads to the medical center for evaluation. Gratefully, he's deemed fit to drive, successfully avoiding a much larger disaster. Number 3. In the pulsating heart of the 1996 Australian Grand Prix, the air is filled with adrenaline. Racers rev their engines, the roar echoing the ambitions of every driver on the grid. Among them is British driver Martin Brundle, his eyes set on the tracks for that promise of glory or despair. But in mere seconds, this happens.
Down into third and fourth position goes David Hillin. Wow, that's one of the Jordans.
Caught in an unexpected situation, Brundle's car goes airborne, spinning through the air. The car flips over, making this a scene straight out of hell. But then, Brundle comes out from the metal shell. The people by the track, as if they practiced, turn the car back onto its wheels. Everyone can hardly believe it as Martin Brundle gets out, a bit shaken, but surprisingly only suffering minor injuries. Number 2. At the 2015 Russian Grand Prix, the atmosphere was electric, filled with the buzzing of engines and the chatter of expectant fans. Spanish driver Carlos Sainz Jr., a newcomer making waves in his debut F1 season, takes his car out for a final practice run. His aim is to cement a strong qualifying position, and his eyes are set on making it count. But 35 minutes into the session, disaster strikes. Heading into turn 13, Sainz's car betrays him. He loses control under braking, smashes into a wall, and dives into the safety barriers. The car is almost swallowed by the barrier, buried deep as if trying to hide from the reality of the situation. Quickly, the marshals and medical teams hurry to the scene. Cranes lift up the safety barriers, and Sainz is taken out carefully and sent to the hospital. In a moment that brings a lot of relief, he gives a thumbs up while he's getting into the ambulance. Carlos Sainz's team principal, Franz Tost, reassures the world. Carlos is conscious. He's with the doctors now. As far as we're aware, he's okay. Later, Sainz's manager tweets a photo of the young driver sitting up in his hospital bed, thumbs still raised. Despite the crash's terrifying optics, Sainz emerged victorious with health. Number 1. Cars tore through the track at the Italian circuit of Imola in 1989, setting the stage for one of Formula One's most heart-stopping moments. Austrian driver Gerhard Berger was boldly pushing his boundaries, but in just seconds, this happens.
Powerful. Oops, and big problems. That was something broken on the car for sure. Big crash by Berger. Without any doubt, it went straight on.
And, oh heavens above, this is dreadful. This is the...
Berger's car crashes at full speed. As if things couldn't have gotten worse, the fuel tank breaks. Flames burst out, creating a scene straight out of hell. Yet, in a rush against time, the fire marshals jump into action. Their quick reaction is incredibly important. They put out the fire, battling against time and everyone's scariest thoughts. When the smoke goes away, everyone feels relieved. Although Berger is unconscious after the harsh crash, he's alive. The consequences? Minor burns and an overall bruised body, to this day being one of the few who can claim to have cheated death and lived to see another day. If you thought these moments were shocking, then these 5 touring car racing moments ought to give you goosebumps all over your skin.